哎，好啊，
你凶什么东西啊？
走开！过来，小白脸没被打过，没被打过的，站手！给我回来！打什么打个死人呀！
Chunpin is a food delivery man from Hong Kong. He lives with limitations because he is deaf and uses a hearing aid. People often insult him or look down on him for his financial condition, but he keeps working hard every day. His work is not only for survival. He also has a small but important goal: saving money for a massage. For Chunpin, this is his way of easing loneliness and feeling the presence of another person, even if only for one night. And this is at the moment. One morning, Chunpin wakes up early and counts his savings. After many long and exhausting days, he finally reaches the amount needed for massage that evening. While focused on the money, he hears noises from the neighboring room. Curious, he moves closer to catch what is happening on the other side of the wall. With help from his hearing aid, he picks up parts of the commotion. The noise bothers him, but he remembers his doctor's advice to stay calm and focused, so he steadies himself. Soon after, a couple steps out from the neighboring room. The woman looks startled when she notices Chunpin standing nearby. His gaze makes her uneasy, and she quickly tells her boyfriend, Sun, who happens to be Chunpin's close friend. Sun sees the excitement in Chunpin's face and understands right away. That day is Chunpin's scheduled visit to the massage parlor. For him, this is not only entertainment. It is also a way to ease loneliness and protect his emotional balance. Chunpin then shares with Sun how strongly he feels about the masseuse he often visits. He admits that the loneliness makes him value her presence even more. Sun advises him to start slowly, suggesting small gestures of trust, like holding her hand in a safe and respectful way. After the conversation, Chunpin leaves for work, but misfortune strikes when he is hit by a car. The accident leaves him with minor injuries and a scolding from his boss.
不是我在讲，跟走啦，太客哦。这丢起做代，相信你可以送出一朵花。
Despite the setback, his thoughts stay on the masseuse, and he grows impatient for night to arrive. For him, a massage is not just about relaxation, it is a way to fight loneliness. When he arrives at the massage parlor, Chunpin learns that his regular masseuse, Chien, is absent due to illness. Instead, a woman named Kwa is assigned to him. Chunpin politely asks about Chien's condition, showing his concern. Soon, his attention shifts to Kwa. Curious, he asks her to briefly remove her mask so he can see her face. When she does, he is stunned by her beauty. Realizing that Kwa is not easy to approach, unlike Chien, he holds back and keeps their interaction professional. Still uncomfortable with the change, Chunpin contacts Liao, the owner of the parlor. He requests to be served only by Chien, explaining that he feels more at ease with her. Liao tells him that Chien is not available that day, so he must accept the substitute. The story then shifts to Joe, an introverted man who works at a bank. Even with a stable job, Joe feels his life is empty. He chooses to remain single after being rejected by his first love when he proposed. His attempts to move on have been difficult. Even joining a televised matchmaking program has not helped him find the right partner. One night, after working late, Joe speaks with Zhu, the office security guard known for being friendly with all employees. Zhu senses that Joe is still tied to his first love. He reminds Joe of his past, including the rejection and the failed matchmaking program. Zhu advises him to notice the people around him, such as his colleagues, and to reflect on his journey. Joe realizes that love is not only about finding a partner. It is also about valuing experiences and understanding himself better. Meanwhile, Nan, Joe's ex-girlfriend, faces a sudden change. At work, her boss arrives with a serious expression and explains that the pandemic has forced the company to lay off employees. Nan is among those dismissed. Shocked and saddened, she struggles to accept the reality. Once occupied with a steady routine, she now must deal with unemployment and the uncertainty ahead. That night, Joe returns home from the office and switches on the television. On the screen, he sees Nan. She no longer looks cheerful, but tired and anxious. A reporter explains that she must leave her home due to pandemic isolation measures. Moved by her condition, Joe sends her a short message asking how she is and offering help. Nan, having lost both her job and her home, feels comforted that someone still cares. They agree to meet at a cafe. The meeting is quiet and simple, marked by silent looks that reveal their old bond. Their conversation touches on work, housing, and daily routines. At one point, they ask if either now has a partner. From Nan's words and expressions, Joe realizes she is struggling with many hardships. Nan then asks why Joe once joined a reality show to find a partner. He smiles faintly and admits that it was an attempt to forget her and move on, though he knows a first love is not easy to let go. As the meeting continues, Joe offers Nan a place to stay at his home until her residence is available again. At first, she refuses and says she will go to a friend's boarding house. But when she cannot reach her friends, she accepts his offer. Together, they go to his home. When Nan arrives, she notices a plant growing in the corner of the room. She had given it to Joe when they were dating. Seeing it still cared for is silent proof that Joe has not forgotten his feelings for her. The next day, Joe goes to work in high spirits. His face looks brighter than usual. At lunch, his close friend San notices the change and asks why. Joe briefly shares that he met Nan yesterday. Hearing this, San becomes upset. He remembers how hard it was for Joe to move on before, and he cannot understand why Joe is letting Nan back into his life. San advises Joe to let go of Nan. He warns that holding on to the past will stop him from moving forward. Joe stays silent, knowing his friend is right. Meanwhile, Chunpin continues his massage session with Kwa. He stays respectful though uneasy, while Kwa, needing extra income, offers additional services. He remembers his friend's advice about starting with something simple, like holding hands. Before anything happens, police raid the parlor. Chunpin and Kwa panic and escape to the rooftop, where they sit in silence, breathing in the cold night air and looking out at the city. In that quiet moment, Chunpin asks about Kwa's life. She explains that her massage work is not what people often assume. She never intended to provide additional services, and the offer she made earlier was the first time, directed only at him. Kwa then shares more of her story. She is a widow raising her child alone, burdened by a troubled past with her ex-husband. These struggles pushed her to work hard for her child's well-being, which is why she chose massage as her livelihood. After opening up, Kwa makes a phone call to her child. Watching her speak with such care makes Chunpin realize her sincerity. Even without many words, her concern shows her kindness. Kwa then continues the massage, focusing on the part of Chunpin's body injured in his earlier accident. Curious, she asks how the accident happened. Chunpin explains that he swerved to avoid hitting a dog. Hearing this convinces Kwa even more that he is a good and genuine person. Their conversation grows deeper. Chunpin opens up about his struggles since the pandemic. He talks about losing his job, working as a food delivery man, and his dream of one day opening a restaurant. To his surprise, even though they have just met, he feels that he and Kwa already understand each other's hardships. Since Kwa still needs money to support her child, she offers an additional massage service. Chunpin agrees, and they return together to his boarding house. When they arrive, his roommates are still awake. They are shocked to see him come home with Kwa, yet also proud that Chunpin has brought someone new into his life. Inside the room, Chunpin begins to notice that his feelings for Kwa are shifting. He is drawn not only to her presence, but also to her sincerity and kindness. As she looks around, she notices his care for the plants in his room, which softens the atmosphere. They play music, and Kwa unexpectedly sheds tears. Chunpin understands, sensing that both of them are lonely people who finally found someone who understands. The mood lightens when Chunpin's laptop accidentally plays the wrong video, making them both laugh. With the interruption breaking the moment, they decide not to continue. Afterward, Chunpin walks Kwa home. She offers to return the service money, but he insists she keep it for her child's needs. He considers asking for her number but holds back, insecure about their differences. Suddenly, Kwa's ex-husband appears drunk and angry, demanding more money. Chunpin tries to protect her but struggles because of his own limitations. In the end, the two manage to escape.
离婚的时候是你妈太久没被我揍是不是啊？哎，干嘛？真的有动手啊？啊！
你别在那边
滚开！没被打，你敢动手啊？啊！没被打过啊？这什么东西啊？啊！站住！
Nearby residents step in, calm the man, and ensure their safety. Afterward, Chunpin and Kwa sit on the street sharing a meal. The simple moment strengthens their bond. Kwa begins to feel at ease with him, recognizing his sincerity and his effort to stand by her. As they talk, Chunpin's boss happens to pass by. Drunk yet still sharp, he notices Chunpin with someone special and offers advice. Opportunities for love come only once and must be seized with courage. The words stay with Chunpin, making him realize he should not waste the chance before him.
但是没有怕我。 啊！哦，别，无代志，无代志，无代志，无代志。来，无，我朋友，我等一下较好你啦。从啥物你敢知？真手摸就知，用水一拉一摆。
太有画面。
At that moment, Kwa reaches out and holds his hand, signaling trust and closeness. Chunpin sees it as the gesture he has long been waiting for. Kwa assures him that the money he gave will go toward her child, while also suggesting they continue their meeting in a more private setting. Chunpin smiles, feeling a genuine connection as they head to a hotel. Inside, Kwa begins the additional service, making Chunpin nervous as their intimacy grows. Wanting to be at his best, he decides to shower first. But in his nervousness, he slips and faints, leaving their plans unfinished for the night. Because it is April 1st, Chunpin delays confessing his feelings, worried it might be mistaken as an April Fool's joke. Meanwhile, Joe spends time with Nan at the mall. They stop by the claw machine, which reminds them of their first meeting 5 years earlier in the same place. Back then, Joe was a quiet new university student with no friends. While playing alone, he accidentally disturbed Nan as she tried to grab a doll, causing her to lose. At first, she was upset, but his awkward and funny demeanor quickly softened her mood. As an apology, Joe offered to buy more tokens so she could try again. Nan refused and instead invited him for a drink. They went to a bar, where she introduced him to her friends. The conversation flowed easily, and for the first time, Joe felt comfortable in a new environment. That night was New Year's Eve. Nan's friends, who had seen Joe alone at the claw machine, felt sorry for him. The evening turned into a turning point, giving Joe new friends and a sense of comfort in social relationships. For the first time, he no longer felt lonely. Later that night, Joe walked Nan home. Since she was drunk and he did not know where her boarding house was, he decided to bring her to his place. The next morning, Nan was surprised to wake up at Joe's home, where he had already prepared breakfast. His kindness left an impression on her. Joe realized that Nan was the person with whom he felt most comfortable sharing his thoughts. The following day, they visited a museum together, which deepened their bond.
这个作品比较生活化吧，
节目的感觉。
After dating and living together for a year, they faced their first conflict. Joe scolded Nan for neglecting household responsibilities, while Nan felt he was being too controlling. The argument grew tense, and Nan left the house.
这有我的错吗？
啊，好，都是我的错，好不好？对不起。
Joe ran after her, trying to calm her down and repair their relationship. Back in the present, after spending the day at claw machines without success, Joe and Nan walked home together. On the way, Joe opened up. He admitted that the reason he joined a reality show to find a partner was to forget her and move on. Yet he confessed that it never worked, because his feelings for her remained strong. Despite his attempts to move forward, their memories stayed with him. Each day, he found himself thinking about Nan and their past. Finally, he asked if there was still a chance for them to try again. Nan stayed silent, but both of them knew the feelings were still there. When they arrived home, they reaffirmed their closeness through intimacy. The next day, Joe invited Nan to dinner with her close friends, hoping they could support her. But the gesture backfired, leaving Nan embarrassed when her struggles were revealed. Later, back at home, Nan was shocked to find her belongings already moved into Joe's room. She felt his action was careless and disrespectful, while Joe explained that he thought it was natural after the closeness they had shared. The argument reminded Joe of the first time he proposed to Nan and was rejected. From that day, he had promised himself to marry her and had been planning a perfect proposal. With help from her friends and store staff, he arranged a surprise at a supermarket. There he proposed again, and this time Nan accepted.
Follow Nan， 你愿意嫁给我吗？
嫁给他啦！
嫁给他！嫁给他！嫁给他！嫁给他！嫁给他！嫁给他！嫁给他！
Although the proposal looked romantic and well prepared, Nan still felt uneasy. At home, she voiced her frustration. She explained that she was not ready for marriage and felt pressured by the situation. Joe was stunned, realizing his good intentions had made her feel trapped. During their conversation, Joe admitted his mistake of rushing into a proposal and taking their relationship too seriously. Nan responded that she was not ready for marriage and still had personal goals she wanted to pursue. The conflict grew worse when Joe revealed her unemployment to her friends, leaving Nan feeling cornered and angry. Joe felt crushed. He believed his efforts and kindness were unappreciated. His frustration turned bitter, convinced that Nan always rejected the good intentions of others, including his own. The next day, Nan went for a massage with Kwa and shared her struggles. She admitted that Joe was too good for her and that she could not return his kindness equally. Kwa, after hearing her story, realized that although they loved each other, their goals were different. Meanwhile, Chunpin decided to approach Kwa, remembering his boss's advice that love requires courage, not luck. To his surprise, Kwa also showed interest by secretly learning sign language. They later shared a meal and agreed to start a relationship. Elsewhere, Joe began to accept the need to let Nan go. Although he still cared, both of them understood that they loved in different ways. Joe expressed his feelings through grand gestures, surprises, and promises, while Nan longed for quiet attention, space, and simplicity. Their feelings were sincere, but their love languages were too different to sustain the relationship. A few days later, Joe visited Nan and gave her a doll he had worked hard to win. For him, it was a symbol of farewell. He let her go, even though his love remained. To Joe, Nan would always be his first love. So the moral of the story is if life keeps throwing drama, accidents, and failed proposals at you, at least make sure your laptop doesn't play the wrong video at the worst possible time.